Okay, everyone, good evening. Welcome to our regularly scheduled board meeting. It's August 18th at 5 p.m. We will call the meeting to order and establish quorum. We have Carlin Fryer, Sarah Falkenberry, Dallas Pipes, Dr. Kraft, myself, Christy Schmidt. Courtney Daughter Bruce will be joining us shortly, Rich Senna, and Garrett Wilson. I will head to closed session to discuss A, pursuant to Texas Code 551.074, deliberation regarding matters related to employment, appointments, resignations, terminations, retirements, and reassignments. Pursuant to Texas Code 551.0821, deliberation of personally identifiable information about a public school student. Pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.072, deliberation regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, discussion of roles and responsibilities of board members. So with that, at 5:01, we will head to closed session.
Oh, man, all right, let's go.
A good gesture. Y'all go ahead. I'm not even organized here. Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to open session, to our first official school meeting of this new school year. So thank you all for being here. We can reestablish quorum. We still have 100% of our board members present, along with Dr. Kraft. And we will move to the pledge. Miss Yvette.
All right. At this time, please rise for the presentation of colors by the Bernie ISD Junior ROTC Color Guard.
Colors. Halt. Present. Colors.
Please join our students from Captain Mark T. Voss Middle School as they lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Order. Colors. Colors. Host. Colors turn arch.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence and prayer. Thank you, and please be seated. Madam President and trustees, our students from Captain Mark T. Voss Middle School have some great questions for you this evening.
Welcome, guys. Thank you for being here. Do you mind introducing yourself for us?
Hi, I'm Advaith Prasanna. I'm an 8th grader at Voss Middle School, and I'm a part of the student council where I'm the leader of the fundraising committee. My question for you is, why did you decide to join the board?
Can I have this one? Yes. So as the newest member of the board, thank y'all for being here from Voss. I have a kid there now and had a student graduate from Voss last year, so I'm very excited to see y'all tonight. One of the main reasons I chose to join the board is I believe in the difference our teachers make in this district and the difference the district is making to all the students. But on a personal level of also why I joined the board is my husband was in the military, and being a military spouse, I saw the sacrifice men and women were making all around the world. And that provides freedom to us as Americans, and we offer free public education, and that's not offered everywhere else in the world. So it gave me a small chance that I can make a difference to honor those sacrifices those men and women service members make.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Abby Link. I'm an 8th grader at Voss Middle School, and in student council, I was a part of the school spirit committee. My question for you is, what is your goal as a board member?
Can I take this one? Okay, well, I was a Bernie ISD student like 27 years ago. And so when I got to move back and raise my family here, it was just such a great blessing to be able to come back to the place where I grew up. So my goal was to give back to the community where I grew up and that I fell in love with, and also to be able to serve our school district. I loved where I went to school. And honestly, when I was y'all's age, I think I was in a place like I don't think I really appreciated it back then. But I think y'all are so self-aware now, and you really understand all the great opportunities that are provided to you. But when I was your age, I didn't really understand the magnitude and all the blessings that came with Bernie ISD. So now, looking back, I get to see all of those things that I got to be a part of, but now my kids get to be a part of. So my goal is just to give back to this great school district and really work on policies that benefit you guys, and also give you all the resources you need to be successful. So one day you can grow old and maybe want to come back to Bernie and raise your family here. Thank you.
And I'll add what Ms. Darter Bruce said. It's a focus on educational excellence and giving you kids the maximum amount of opportunities to achieve excellence and realize your dreams. My kids went through Bernie ISD all 13 years, and one of my goals is that the educational opportunities for our kids are better than what my kids had, and they were good then. But also be very fiscally responsible in managing the taxpayer dollar. That's really important.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ishan Singh. I'm an 8th grader at Voss Middle School, and I am the leader of appreciation for our student council. My question for you is, what do you like to do most as a board member?
Thank you for your question. This is my 3rd year on the board. We get to do a lot of really great things. On the first day of school, we got to open car doors for parents, and that's always fun. I always love graduation. It never gets old. I look forward to that every year, just being able to hand our seniors their diplomas after knowing the journey that they've been through since they were in pre-K. And one of my very favorite things we did as a board is last year we did Listen and Learns. So you may be familiar with that. Did we come to talk to your school?
I don't think so.
So we came, 3 board members along with our superintendent, Dr. Kraft. We were able to go out to every campus, and we were able to speak to groups of students. Were you there?
Yeah. I remember that.
You were Ishan because you asked some really good questions.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So it was like, as you know, it was a very candid experience for students just to be open with us at every campus, just to let us know what's going on in their worlds and at their campus. And in return, they got to ask us questions. So any chance I have to talk to students is one of my favorite things.
Thank you so much.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
What's your favorite part about being on student council?
It's the collaboration with other students, other grades, other views, and be able to brainstorm new ideas to make our school better, help students out, be more successful, and obviously have fun at school. So, yeah.
Very nice. Good answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Sprenzel. I'm a 7th grader at Voss Middle School and the vice president for our student council. My question for the board is, what does a normal day look like for you?
Mind if I take this one? I appreciate it. And one, the only 7th grader and you're vice president, that's pretty impressive. So give yourself a round on that one. My normal day typically is about 5:30, wake up. We have a little one in the house, so she has to get fed. That's my usual time. As the wife's doing that, I'm checking email, making sure what fires happened over the night. And then we wake up. I got 5 kids, so we wake up the other 4. And we're out the door we got to feed, dress, and whatever else problems arise. We're out the door about, 7 o'clock. And then we're driving across town to go to school, dropping off, going to work out. Then work starts. Work starts for me about 9:30. It's usually for my job. It's a lot of phone calls, emails, showing property, which is a beautiful thing in my job, but there's a lot more paperwork and emails, so be prepared for that in life. Whatever job you choose, usually the emails will catch up to you. And then after that, it's usually calling family. I'm very blessed to have family that's here in Bernie, so we try to coordinate wherever lunch is going to be. That's about 3 days a week. Meeting my dad or my sister or somebody and doing lunch and breaking bread with family. After that, it's back to the grind, working on myself. But yeah, so usually on a given day, I take it about 6 hours of work, truly, and then a lot of pickups. So we're back out picking up kids for 3 o'clock, picking up other kids at 5:30. We have reading, we have all that stuff, and then usually around 6 o'clock, and I think a lot of board members can attest to this, I'm either at a volleyball game or anything and everything I can be to try to be around the district. And during the day, usually I'll try to figure out something I can do to support or be supportive of teachers or something. So yeah, that's about it. And we break bread again in the evening about 7 o'clock, and then everybody's in bed before 8.
Thank you.
Hey, well, I got a question for you. Do you mind?
Yes, sir.
What would you recommend that you do in your day that makes it a better day?
Probably I give my time self to be able to just read a good book.
Okay, thank you.
Very nice.
Hi, I'm Annabella Epley. I'm an 8th grader at Voss Middle School, and I'm the president of Student Council. My question for the board is, what would you expect from us as students?
So thank you for being here, first off. And clearly what you're doing is that you're leaders, right? You're leaders on your campus. And so from a what would I ask you to do, it's to continue to be the leaders. People look up to you. You are those on the campus that are relied upon, probably by the administration and by your friends. And so don't ever lose the opportunity to be a leader. And it's not always easy to do that, but making sure that you're doing the right thing, even when no one's looking, right?
Also, sorry, Rich. I was going to say there's so many amazing opportunities in Bernie ISD, and as you continue through middle school and get to high school, I would say look for every opportunity to get involved. There's clubs, and y'all are obviously in student council, which is an amazing leadership group. But look at ways to discover different pathways and maybe take dual credits and AP classes. Really take advantage. Don't squander opportunities. Bernie ISD is really working hard to just give you guys opportunities. So take everything you can and learn and grow and be responsible and respectful, as y'all can see.
And I would add, as the old man on the board, you should be a lifelong learner. I learn something new every day, and learning is fun. So always be looking to learn more and be better at what you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Voss Middle School. You did a really great job today.
Yes, thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite Madam President, our trustees, and Dr. Kraft to join me on the floor for our commendations. We're excited to celebrate several outstanding students and staff this evening, and we'd love for you to stay until the end so every honoree feels that love from Bernie. Thanks for being here to help us honor them this evening. First, I'd like to invite Dr. Kraft to share a very special recognition.
All right, I would like our principals to come down to the front. Come on down, every principal. would like to start. So, August, we are back in school. This is our first official board meeting for the school year, and we got some exciting news last week. Bernie ISD is rated an A by the state of Texas, an A in 2004, an A in 24 and 25. There was a little bit of a delay with state lawsuits on accountability challenges and so forth, but Bernie ISD has received an A for the past 6 years, ever since they started rating schools, and we are the only A in the San Antonio region, the only A. And I just, on behalf of our students and our parents and our community, I want to thank our leaders for everything that you do every day, day in and day out, to make sure that great things happen for students and your staff. And so we're very proud of this recognition, but really it recognizes your hard work and your attention to the details and results and just making sure every student has what they need to succeed. So congratulations to all of you.
Let's give them a round of applause. Tonight, we're thrilled to celebrate Kim Grossenbacher from Champion High School for receiving the 2025 Outstanding Teaching of the Humanities Award. Kim will receive a check for $5,000 for her achievements and an additional $1,000 to purchase humanities instructional materials for her classroom. Let's give her a round of applause. We are proud to announce that Bernie ISD High School Athletics has received the Texas Way Award. This prestigious recognition highlights the dedication, sportsmanship, and leadership of our student athletes, coaches, and staff. Congratulations to everyone who contributes to building a culture of excellence both on and off the field. Let's give him one more round of applause. Tonight, we're thrilled to celebrate Bernie ISD. They've been recognized as one of the best communities for music education for 2025. That marks 7 consecutive years of this honor. A heartfelt thank you to our amazing music directors whose dedication, talent, and leadership inspire our students to make beautiful music in our classrooms and our community. Let's give them a round of applause for this well-deserved honor. We are proud to celebrate Herff Elementary School and Fabra Elementary School for receiving the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association Student Leadership Awards. Herff Elementary School is being recognized as a first-time winner. What an exciting milestone. And Fabra Elementary School earns this honor back-to-back, showcasing their continued excellence in student leadership. Now it is an honor to recognize this month's Core Values in Action recipient. Tonight, we're proud to celebrate David Gearhart for exemplifying Bernie ISD's core values, commitment to service. As Bernie ISD's safety and driver trainer, David has trained 92 employees to earn their CDL licenses and consistently upholds the highest standards in safety, ethics, and care for our students. Our Director of Transportation, Melanie Lee, shared with us that employees like David are the foundation of Bernie ISD's excellence, and we're so proud to have him as part of the transportation team.
Thanks. David definitely changed the trajectory of our department last year when he came back to the district. He had been previously employed, and he has trained 21 drivers since he started in May a year ago. So he has really changed and put us where we are. Thank you, David.
Let's give David a round of applause. Congratulations. And this concludes our commendations for this evening. Madam President, trustees, and Dr. Kraft, if you would please make your way back to your seats behind the dais. Thanks, guys. Tonight's BEF Wow Moment takes us to Viola Wilson Elementary School. Thanks to a BEF grant, students are enjoying manipulatives that encourage hands-on learning. Let's check out the video.
Hi, my name is Miles. Welcome to Viola Wilson Elementary School. Today's BEF Wow Moment takes place in Ms. Giordano's classroom, where they're using manipulatives for hands-on learning.
The grant that we received, the kindergarten group here at Viola Wilson received a grant to purchase manipulatives so that the students can do some hands-on learning. The manipulatives were for science, math, and phonics, and we were able to purchase letter locks, science viewers, just a whole range of manipulatives that get the kids up and moving, get them engaged in their learning, really student-directed and collaborative learning, and they are loving it. The kids are doing an awesome job, and we are thrilled with our grant for the manipulatives. I say a giant thank you to the BEF for believing in our students, believing in our school and our teachers, and awarding us this generous grant so we can instill a lifelong love of learning in our students and help them build their foundation right from the start.
Thank you for supporting every student, every teacher, and every school in Bernie ISD.
Thank you.
And thank you to BEF. That was great. Okay, next we have visitor comments and testimonials. The board encourages comments about the district from citizens of the district or from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so at this time. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to public education and be no longer than 3 minutes. The overall time limit for comments will be 30 minutes. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the board will defer discussion of the issue until the appropriate time during the meeting. The board encourages the public to discuss concerns with an appropriate administrator who has the authority to address the concerns. Concerns should be expressed as soon as possible to allow early resolution at the lowest possible administrative level. Finally, please be aware that rules of decorum will be enforced during the public comment period and throughout the meeting. Disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. Those who choose to engage in disruptive behavior may be asked to leave. Each participant is legally responsible for the content and consequences of his or her own statements. Copies of our district policies on public participation in meetings can be found on our website. All right, and first we have Jonah Evans.
Hello, trustees. Thank you all for your service to our community. My name is Jonah Evans. I would like to ask, is it appropriate to hand some photos to you all that you can pass around? This is related to a transportation issue at the school.
Yes, I can take them for you. Thank you.
So, my daughter just started at Bernie High School, the school where I graduated from in 1997. So it's a pretty amazing moment for us. And we live within the 2-mile radius, so it's not we're not able to take the bus to school. So I decided to walk to school with her the other day and just show her the route, and became aware that there's some pretty significant pedestrian safety issues with Bernie High School. I imagine most of you are probably already aware of them. But Bernie High School has one pedestrian entrance. It's on the south side of the school from across Bentwood Drive there. That's the only crosswalk for any pedestrian to get into Bernie High School. And from there, you're immediately funneled onto a bridge that has no sidewalks and is heavily used by school buses and young student drivers. And so after school, if you go by there and watch, and I encourage you all to do that, you will see, I mean, I couldn't count them, maybe 100, maybe 200 students in a very tight area with school buses and trucks. And if you look at the photos and pass those around that I handed you, it's quite alarming. I took those pictures today. There's a young woman that I got a picture of that has about 8 inches of space right there as a school bus is, coming really close to her. So it's something I'm very concerned about. I think education is something we all love and care about. Nobody would argue that safety is more important for our kids. So I wanted to share that, bring it to your attention, and ask that if possible, we consider the appointment of a task force or some kind of working group to look into solutions for pedestrians walking to our school. And I realize you can't ask questions right now. I did send all these photos in an email to all of you about 5 minutes ago, so it will be in your inbox. And so I encourage you to please feel free to reach back out to me. I have served on a variety of different transportation committees around the town, and would be happy to volunteer in any capacity related to trying to find solutions to this.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you all.
Next, we have Jaime Hudson.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Is it Jamie?
It's
I
Jamie.
apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm used to it. My name's Jamie Hudson, and my son's a junior at Champion High School. I'm here tonight just to talk about some concerns with the welding program at school. He took welding last year, and he did really well, enjoyed it a lot, and he planned to continue taking welding in junior and senior years. We did the course card at the end of last year. He got his schedule earlier in the summer, and then and welding was on it. And when he showed up to school on the first day, there was no more welding. It had been subbed with another class. So he did go talk to the counselor, and he also emailed the teacher of that class. He even emailed the academic dean, and basically just was told that the class was full, but if anybody dropped, he would be considered. I also did the same. I reached out to the school counselor, the academic dean, the principal, and the teacher of the class, and I haven't received a response from anyone so far. We didn't get any prior information regarding these changes before they happened. My son wasn't called down and asked what classes he would prefer to be in, if welding wasn't an option. There doesn't seem to be any process in place for determining who was cut. So it's kind of like a luck of the draw situation. I don't understand how this happens if you have a level 1 class and that many students. I would expect you to anticipate that many students go up to level 2. I'm not sure what happened to stop that from occurring. I know there are juniors and seniors who were taken out of the class. Some who intended to go into the trade after graduation. I'm just here to advocate for my child, and what I'm asking for is a resolution. It seems like to me, and sorry, I'm just a parent, and I know it's probably easier said than done, but to add a class would probably fix this for my son and the others who were not allowed to move forward, or maybe not allowing another group of welding students to start until those that are already in the program complete it. I just feel like we're doing a disservice to those students that didn't get to move forward, and a lot of them are very disappointed and upset. And just from parent to parent, my son, I don't know how your kids are, but when I say how was your day, I'm lucky if I get good are fine, except for welding. He would come home every day after that class and tell me in detail what they did, how he welded, and I don't know anything about welding, but I would always listen. Sometimes he would text me a picture of his weld, like, and to have a 16-year-old do that, that's a big deal to me. It's a big parent moment. So I don't want that excitement to stop for him, and I'm just asking to please consider a resolution for my son and the other kids who were left out of this class. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie Hudson. Next, we have Steve Grant.
My name is Steve Grant. I have a junior at Bernie High School. I've been working with the bus barn for the last couple of days because the bus schedule hasn't been exactly the way that it should be for him to be out there when he is. So I suggested to them, this idea came to me, and they said, that's a great idea. You should go to the board tonight and tell them that. So if this is not your purview, well played, bus barn. You tell me if it is or not. So it occurred to me that if you had an inexpensive solution like an AirTag in the buses that the parents of the students that are on that bus had access to, that we would know when the bus is coming in the morning. My kid, when it's raining, can stay inside until it's just about there, because when you're 16, you're not allowed to wear an umbrella or bring an umbrella. So he would be less wet on the way to the bus. If I had to get him out for some reason at the end, I would know when the bus is coming. I have a 22-year-old who went all the way through Bernie ISD. Spent many times waiting for him at the bus. So as a parent waiting for a student to come home, that would help me with that. They call me back, and Brian's been great at the bus barn. He called me back and he goes, hey, Steve, I found out that some of the schools south of us are actually using this technology. So I'm not advocating for AirTags in particular, but there's other technologies that could help parents of the students on those buses track where the buses are. Be a big help to us. I think it's an inexpensive solution. So my suggestion to you, if this is something that is your responsibility, and if not, I will call Brian tomorrow and we'll have a good conversation about it. But if it is yours, I would suggest that you look into that and maybe even talk to some of the other schools that are employing that to figure out whether or not it's something that's adding value to them and what the cost is, and if it might add value to Bernie ISD also. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Next, we have Mr. Jerry Lamping and guest.
Good evening, President, board members, superintendent. I'm Jerry Lamping, and I live in Pleasant Valley. I'm here with Richard Herbst. I'm the retired president of the Kendall County Retired Teachers Association, so I get to retire twice. Richard's the current president. We're here to support a couple of items. First of all, agenda item 7B, your resolution for the homestead exemption. We also want to show our support for the consideration for raises for teachers, current teachers. We know it won't benefit us, but we still want to support our teachers. And we're here also to support the Bernie Education Foundation. And Richard will talk about that.
I'll throw a couple more things at you, then just one, because I got 2 minutes. I'm going to go real quick here, so get ready. No, we're Kendall County Retired Teachers Association, about 170 members, and there's a couple things that have occurred over the last year, and one of them was 2023. Y'all were supportive of us getting a COLA for retired teachers to get a COLA, and we had a great session where I was in Austin and celebrating, and we had a COLA that was given to us. Mr. Rahm, who was the teacher, principal, and superintendent and school board member here at Bernie, who is now 96 years old, gave me a call because he said, I got this big check, and it was a big $7,500 check that he was very excited about getting and very appreciative. He also got a COLA, which he deserved as well. So we've had some success there. I'm going to mention one more thing, the weapon GPO, which was signed in January, and that was let me give you an idea. here in Kendall County, in Bernie, there's 779 retired educators that got $5.7 million in that whole thing. For the whole county, for Comfort, Bergheim, Candelia, that's 944 people, and they got $6.9 million that helped them. Those are all retired. Here in Texas, in 80, remember we discontinued, weren't going to do Social Security because our pay was so low, so we didn't do Social Security, and now this is taken away. And I'll mention just one more, Mrs. Swartz, who was the librarian, math teacher. She's 96 years old. We talked back and forth email. I said, you need to give us a try, because her husband was the city manager of Bernie, and she got a big check from that GPO elimination. And so there's a lot of people that have been helped. And the reason I'm saying that is we're favoring you helping active teachers. We want to favor and help those that have retired. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamping. Thank you, Mr. Herbst. All right, next up we have consider action, if any, regarding items discussed in closed session.
I make a motion to proceed as discussed in closed session.
We have a motion by Courtney Bruce. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Carlin Fryer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval of routine personnel items.
Madam President, I move to approve the personnel report as discussed in closed session.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Carlin Fryer, a second from Dallas Pipes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. May I receive a motion to approve consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Rich, second by Mr. Wilson. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, consent agenda is approved. Governance, and we have board member reports. And while everyone gets organized, I can start I just wanted to give an update on our PTO presidents. Our new and returning PTO presidents were able to attend convocation. This was their third year to be able to do so. It was they had a great participation. They loved doing this. Thank you, Ms. Reyna, for the invitation. And we have our first district-wide PTO meeting that will be combined with our Bernie Education Foundation leaders for a breakfast on September 5th at 8:30 a.m.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll proceed. We had a policy committee meeting. It was the first time that we met. We met on Monday, August 11th, just recently. The policy committee met to review policy revisions related to legislative changes. These policy updates were presented to the board on July 17th, 2025 for initial discussion and review. The district administrators over each policy area did a thorough review and recommended changes to be presented to the board for approval. The committee also discussed procedures pertaining to board meetings related to legislative changes. So this has been a very, very thorough process from the beginning of this legislation being passed, new policies being recommended. Once admin began to review these new bills, meetings started happening, webinars started to be attended, just to gain new knowledge on all the bills that were being presented to us. So everybody pulled together, and everyone on our team is active and just reviewing these bills and making sure that we are active and involved. And it was once said by Dr. Kraft, people support what they help create. I think Dr. O'Hare said that as well. So it was a great meeting, though, just going over the new policies. So look forward to sharing those.
Thank you, Courtney. I think this committee is a great addition. I think it's going to be very helpful for us going forward. So thanks for that addition of that committee.
I'll go over our Finance Committee meeting that we held on August the 13th. We had a presentation by Mr. Scott on the quarterly investment report, which we just approved in the consent agenda. Just a recap of that, investment portfolio ended June 30th with $87.4 million in investments, earning an average yield of 4.4%. Presentation and discussion regarding the 2025 certified property values from all three of the counties, of which PISD is made up of, Kendall, Comal, and Bear, and then discuss the market, the impact of the market increases and what the new property values were versus raises on existing properties, as well as the expiration of the homestead cap and increases in exemptions that we're anticipating. Had a discussion on adopted tax rates and election orders that we will look at later on this evening. Presentation and discussion on property insurance. We are with TASB's risk management and discuss some options for the renewal coming up there. And the last item was a presentation and discussion of the voter-approved tax ratification election. Should that pass in November, what the teacher pay scale would look like. And the steps that are taking to gradually increase those to be more competitive with our area districts. And our next meeting will be held on September the 10th.
Yeah, if I could just add to what Carlin shared, Mr. Scott oversees the investment when tax collections come in October, where we collect over 70% of our levy several months earlier than most districts even bill. Our taxpayers both save 3% on their bill, and we're one of only 30 districts in the state that offers that. But by bringing in all that cash, we can generate almost $2 million of revenue for our general fund and a significant amount for our capital fund. So it's a good financial move that helps both the taxpayer and the district. It's kind of a win-win. So that was a nice report to get from Mr. Scott.
My committee that I met with this month was BEF. They had their annual retreat where they initiated their new members. They initiated 3 new board members. They have an upcoming fundraiser to support their grants that they give to the districts, the Birdies for Bernie. It's September 19th. And if you're interested in a team, Miss Raina is back there. You please talk to her before you leave tonight. And also at a new teacher orientation, they had the opportunity to give 3 teachers mini grants. They had each teacher write a short grant of if they could wish for anything, what would they like? And they were able to award 3 teachers with gift cards. And then their next meeting for BEF this year will be this upcoming Wednesday here in the boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see our BEF president in the back too, if you want to hit her up.
Madam President, I can talk about safety and security if you'd
Yes,
like to do
please.
that. So obviously not a lot to discuss there, but we did meet on July the 30th, the Safety and Security Committee, representatives from the school district, the board, Bernie Fire Department, Bernie Police Department, and Fair Oaks Ranch PD, as well as our parent representatives. Just general security update conversations, some new technology that is in place and being tested, introduction of some of our new participants in the committee, and legislative updates in general. So, and then the meeting adjourned about an hour later. So,
Thank you. Mr. Senna?
Okay, are we on to 7B?
Yes.
Okay, great. Before the board tonight is approving a resolution to affirm support for the homestead exemption increase that's going to go before voters in this November's election. Our board every 2 years develops legislative priorities, and in this last session it was to offer property tax relief through increased state funding of public education, create a permanent teacher pay allotment, which the legislature did create, which gave our teachers a nice raise, a well-deserved raise, and to increase support for school safety. And so the resolution that I'm going to read is in front of you, and it's to affirm support for the homestead exemption increases passed. And I would say it was an honor and a pleasure, actually, to be invited to testify in front of the local government committee of the state Senate was one of 4 people that was invited to testify. Now, of course, I turned around and told Senator Betancourt I want something in return, which is more increased funding for public ed, and he said help's on the way, and he was partially correct about that. So let's read what this resolution says. Whereas during the 89th regular session of the Texas Legislature placed 2 constitutional amendments on the ballot for November 4th, 2025, and whereas a homestead exemption, if approved, would provide qualified taxpayers an additional $40,000 in ad valorem property tax relief, and whereas a homestead exemption, if approved, would provide qualified taxpayers age 65 and older or disabled an additional $50,000 in ad valorem property tax relief. That's 50 on top of the 40. Whereas the Board of Trustees has demonstrated its support for legislative priorities, including to provide taxpayer relief through legislative priorities over the past 3 legislative sessions to create permanent teacher pay increases and to increase support for school safety. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Boerne Independent School District, the Board of Trustees affirms its intent to support the constitutional amendments on the ballot for voters which align with the board's priorities on November 4th of 2025. And basically what this means is if you're a senior citizen and your homestead is frozen at $300,000, your exemption of that value will go from $110,000 up to $200,000. Now, when this happened 2 years ago, when it was increased from 40 up to 110, there were about 800, Mr. Scott, if I'm not mistaken, about 800 homeowners in our school district that were removed from paying any school taxes. And the state agreed to hold harmless the districts for the loss of that tax money. This year, if you're a senior citizen or disabled, that exemption goes from 110 up to 200. Now, if somebody's 75, 80 years old, they may have frozen their house 15 years ago when they were 65 at 200,000, because you can't get a house in Boerne now for 200,000. But if they froze it at that level, that means that they would then be removed from the tax rolls. So we don't know how many seniors or disabled folks will be removed from the tax rolls, but it'll be an increase. And once again, the state will make up for that loss of tax money. So that, and everyone else below 65, it's an increase of 40,000. So it's a good move, and we support it. Our board has always supported this for the past 3 sessions for the very simple reason that we are aware that the school property tax is the largest property tax that any homeowner or property owner is going to pay. So the state's share of public education had continued to decline, and this is an effort not only to bring tax relief, but have the state assume a greater share of funding public ed, which allows us to lower the tax rate. And they've had big surpluses, so they've done exactly that. So we're happy to support that effort that the state has undertaken, because it does bring relief to our property owners. So that is the logic behind this resolution, and we thought it would be good for our board to endorse it.
Thank you, Mr. Senna. On that note, I will consider the approval of a resolution to affirm support for the homestead exemption increases passed during the 89th legislative session.
Second.
Is that you, Dallas? Oh, Carlin and Mr. Wilson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Senna. Okay, next we have reports from our superintendent, Dr. Kraft.
All right, thank you, Madam President. For the superintendent report tonight, just a few things to share. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to our board for your support and a successful, strong start to the school year. We appreciate you being out and visible and just offering support wherever you go, whether it's at a campus, opening corridors, helping at lunch, open ketchup or milk cartons, or being at games, and football season's around the corner. So that'll be a lot of fun. I know you enjoy my daily updates on enrollment, and so today we're at 11,116 students, and so our community knows our very first day of school, we're at 11,009. And so within 5 days, we've already gained 107 students. And we built our budget based on 11,237. So we know more students are enrolling every single day. And so that's a number we watch very closely. I'd like to thank our teachers, our principals, and our staff across every campus and department, our teaching and learning team, our HR team, like everyone is a team effort to get school started, to make sure that we have everything in place. And I just want you to think back to last year, the start of school. We had some challenges because we were short bus drivers. And we brought you a proposal in the fall to raise bus driver pay. We increased bus driver pay by $3 an hour in the fall. And that almost immediately took care of our difficulties staffing transportation. And when you fast forward to this school year, when you have a fully staffed transportation team, it is a game changer. And so I just want to say thank you for your continued support to addressing compensation needs as we bring you concerns. We also pair it with solutions and ways that we're finding the dollars. And I know Matt Myers at South is elated because this is the first year in a long time he does not have any double runs affecting his campus. So none of our elementary schools have a double run. That means our buses drop off elementary and they get to their middle school and high school routes on time. So we're getting students home at an earlier time than we did last year. We also launched Parent Square. It's an updated tool to help reach our families with ease, and so that's in response to our communication audit that we heard from our parents to make sure that we have efficient ways to communicate with our parents. So that has been, very positively received by our leaders and by our families. We also started a parent portal in response to Senate Bill 12, and so there's a place for parents to submit comments or questions. They go to the superintendent page, there's Contact the Superintendent button, click that, it opens up some text boxes where a patron could fill out questions and we will get them to the right person to get an answer to their question. So we had a very strong, successful start. Part of that successful start is another element of House Bill 2. You've heard a lot about House Bill 2 with school funding, but there's many pages to House Bill 2, and one of the requirements coming out of House Bill 2 is around pre-K. And House Bill 2 introduced new eligibility criteria for pre-K enrollment. Under this bill, children of classroom teachers, defined as those who teach for at least 4 hours a day, are now eligible for state-qualified pre-kindergarten services. And so we have been holding information sessions with our teachers as we led up to the school year, and we are excited to share that we have 32 new pre-K students whose parents are also our classroom teachers. So we're excited about that, and thanks to Renee Munn and the academics team and talent team for helping to make that all come together. And so we have expanded our pre-K programming by those 2 classrooms, and we have one at Curington and one at Kendall. And another data point I wanted to share with you, because data keeps coming in over the summer. And so we are pleased to share that Bernie ISD saved families nearly $2 million in college savings by leveraging our dual credit and AP coursework. So those are numbers coming in from last year. So dual credit, we saved families around $900,000 in college tuition through dual credit partners and advanced placement. Our students did very well, and our family saved about $870,000 in college tuition. So we know our class of 25 is off getting settled in college right now, and many of them are going to their first year of college as a junior or as a sophomore. Our students are consistently enrolling in their next step with many college hours under their belt, and we're saving our parents around $2 million in tuition. So those are my comments. Report.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
My daughter took 2 dual credit classes this summer, and I found that a lot of students were doing that this summer because they wanted to knock it out so they could get credit, and they didn't have to take it their senior year, and then they got to get the college credit too. So it's very good. Thank you for the savings.
Thank you.
Dr. Kraft, that's great news to hear about the 32 classroom teachers. Now, I'm assuming these were 32 teachers that I would imagine they had their children in daycare?
All kinds of different scenarios happening.
So, I mean, you think about the savings, that was a funded part of House Bill 2 from the legislature. It's hard to put a number on it when a piece of legislation gets passed, but imagine the savings. I know what my daughter pays for childcare for her 2-year-old, you know, and it's not cheap. So this is a huge, huge thing. And I'm glad it was merchandised and marketed, because that's 32 people that in all likelihood got significant financial relief.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. It also is a barrier to enter the work environment as far as that cost. So hopefully, I think we got some great employees because of that. The tech that we're using in our schools to communicate, I think, is a
Parent Square.
Parent Square.
Parent Square. I see it Square. So I get all the things, and I'm at HERF, and we're getting. It's beautiful to see it interacting. And then I was able to go to a parent-teacher conference with all the parents of the incoming kindergartners and first graders, and we're talking about parents who've never been in the school district before. And I think this is a great kind of opening first door that they go through, and the amount of communication, how open the district is, it shows. And in those parent-teacher conferences, it really, everyone seems to be loving it. So we like it.
Excellent, thank you. And just as a reminder, last January, I presented on our communications audit. And so that work is shared across every department and every division, because communication is everybody's responsibility. And that report delivered 10 great recommendations that will be a guidepost for us for years to come.
Thank you, Dr. Kraft.
The next one, too.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So the second item I wanted to share tonight is a strategic plan update. And I'm not sure who's clicking for me. Rich, do you have the clicker? So every year, well, this is the second year, I like to bring an update to our board on our strategic plan and our goals for next school year. And this is an adorable picture. This is a picture of our Jumpstart program. We have students with us in July for 2 weeks leading up to the school year, so they know where everything is and start learning their routines as they get ready to join us. So our strategic plan is a 5-year plan, so we're right in the middle of it, and it is based on our vision, mission, and core values to engage, inspire, and enrich. These are our 4 goals: student success, talent, fiscal responsibility, and engagement. Our plan has these 4 goals, and there's sub-goals under each one of them. I say this often, our core business is teaching and learning. We would need to make sure and ensure the success of our students pre-K through 12, and success does not happen by chance. Success happens, long-term success that you saw earlier this evening, long-term sustained success as a result of tight systems and alignment of assessment and adjustment, teacher training, and just that recurring cycle to make sure that students are challenged and teachers have exactly what they need. So this is a key foundational piece to our work. And in the backup, you have our SMART goals. Principals are used to writing goals as a SMART goal, and that stands for specific, measurable, action-oriented, results-oriented, and time-bound. And so these are SMART goals written by our executive leaders, because they own, with me, the strategic plan and these goals. And so these are the areas that they are closely monitoring all year long, and we will be bringing you updates. So just to highlight a few, in student success, maintaining our CCMR rates at 96%, increasing to 96%. You'll also see a focus on our K-2 student growth in reading and math, and then also sustaining our student performance at the meets and masters levels. When you look at talent, I want to point out the third one. We'll be doing significant stakeholder engagement this year, because we need to be exploring the teacher incentive allotment and what opportunities are on the horizon for us to consider. Then the fourth item is really important, that we are rebuilding our bench. So this summer we were able to promote a number of assistant principals to become principals, but that just means that we need to rebuild our leadership bench. And so we have Ms. Flores, Ms. Rhodes-Pruen, and Dr. O'Hare, who are working collaboratively on our Aspiring Leadership Academy. And so we always want to be growing our own leaders, ready to step into leadership opportunities. And when you look at the SMART goals for finance, we continue to maintain and adjust our capital replacement plan. We have an ongoing cycle of program review and pay close attention to our attendance. We're looking at attendance data this morning with the team, and I believe it's Fabra and Cibolo Creek, who've already, from last year, exceeded their attendance to the pre-pandemic levels. And so whenever school districts look at attendance, we're always comparing back to what was attendance before COVID. And many of our schools are right there very close, but Fabra and Cibolo Creek were the first two to regain those kind of numbers. So we're proud about that. Okay, there you go. And then engagement. So you can see there's quite a bit happening there under engagement. And we talked a little bit about Parent Square, that second to last one there. We've also launched Bernie ISD Connections to make sure that we are able to engage with our community members that do not have children in the district anymore. So you'll see more information going out about Bernie ISD Connections. And then we'll also be expanding our parent engagement opportunities and creating a community resource hub. So that is just the tip of the iceberg. Our team is laser focused on these priorities that help move the needle for our families and our students. And as a reminder, as a board, you do maintain House Bill 3 board goals for early childhood literacy, math, and CCMR. And Ms. Flores does a great job bringing all those data points to us. So I'm going to end on this slide. This is our schedule of when we will be bringing strategic plan updates to the board. So every month, well, September, October, November, you will see a presentation on academics. And then you'll see alternating presentations from talent, finance, and engagement. And then that cycle repeats. We want to be very clear and intentional with how we bring reports and updates to our board and community that connect to our strategic plan. Do you have any questions?
Just a few comments. Under talent, you know, I think hats off to Jill and her team for really developing a strong recruiting plan. The number of vacancies we have, whether it's in custodial or food service or bus driver, is way, way down from where it was a year ago. And yes, we did some raises last year. Still looks like we're able to balance our budget, which is fairly unique among school districts in the state of Texas. And we're not there yet. We're not where we need to be yet. We know that, not with Bucky's coming. But the point that by using creative recruiting means and techniques, you've really, and our schools function much better when your operations staff is at full staff. I mean, you would not want to have a classroom not have a teacher. Well, we don't want to have a cafeteria that doesn't have a food service worker or a bus drive without bus drivers. So I really appreciate the good work that you've done on that. And also I'm excited about the Aspiring Leaders Academy. We hire every year a lot of teachers from other districts, new to the profession, some were substitutes. But the Grow Your Own is really a good thing. And when you can make this a career destination for people, I think that's a good thing. We're not the highest paying district by any means, although we're going to be working on that, aren't we? But I appreciate what's been done, and I think that's a good thing. And lastly, you know, the 10-year capital replacement plan, for those of you that are not as familiar with our school finance situation, is one of the lowest funded per pupil districts in the state. I think last year we were the 9th lowest out of over 1,000 districts. You know, and 85% of your budget goes to payroll. It does not leave a lot of extra money left over. And we really need to, and we're also working on that, coming up with a plan to rectify that I think people will hear more about later tonight.
I was just going to mention that the goal engagement, that one really sticks out to me. I was going to ask about the family to family support network. I love that. So are you talking about pulling together like 3 kind of veteran families to start and kind of mentoring or kind of leading new families? Is that how that works? Because I love it.
Let Krista say a few words.
Hi, Courtney. Yes, so we are actually strategizing 2 plans. One where we have families who have already connected within the district, building out kind of a mentoring program, but then also how do we engage new families who have just arrived in Bernie, how we can set up certain strategic ideas and resources and connections for them. So we're in the foundational piece of it, but strategizing how we can connect both families who have been here for a while and need new opportunities, but then also families who are new.
Thank you. I really admire the work that you and Stephanie and your team do. I think y'all It's just an exceptional way. I always think of, like, in your columns you write, it's just the Bernie way. I feel like a lot of what you do, Krista, and your team is the Bernie way. It makes people feel engaged and seen. Even the Care and Share Center that you have, I was able to lead a couple of families there just to go get new clothes and shoes, and it's really special, and I'm so thankful that our district supports this. Thank you for your leadership.
Wanted to second what Rich said about the Aspiring Leaders Academy. I just love that we have kind of a mechanism there where it's organized for people to move up in the district. I think at just my kids' elementary school, and there's like 20 teachers, which is basically all the teachers they've had, K through 5, that would qualify for that program. So we have so much talent in this district. I love that we're doing that.
I'm going to echo a little bit off Courtney here of the slide just changed, but it was the family school relationship partnership and that impact of student achievement. And I think that's such a key component of involving our families in those activities. So I'm very glad to see that we've continued and are prioritizing that. And the other thing I wanted to say thank you to Dr. Kraft is that you are sharing the progress of our student success every time. It is always number one, and then the other ones are coming in that are also as important. But every time we will have the update on our student success, which is why we're all here. So thank you for putting that on the agenda every meeting. Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Flores for instruction. Review of 2025 A through F accountability results.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Kraft. Tonight I bring to you the results from the official TEA accountability ratings for 2 years, for 2024 and for 2025. These ratings reflect the hard work of our students and staff. Right. Our core values guide every decision we make every day. Every child, every day, ensuring each student has the support to succeed. Relationships that are respectful, building trust and connection across our schools and community. Excellence through integrity, pursuing the highest standards with honesty and transparency, and commitment to service, going above and beyond to serve our students and our community. These are Bernie ISD's long-term strategic goals, and tonight we're going to focus on student success, ensuring every learner achieves and grows. TEA has a state and federal accountability system that measures performance in 3 areas. The first one is student achievement, which assesses STAR results, graduation rates, and college, career, and military readiness. Domain 2, school progress, measures academic growth from year to year and compares performance to similar districts. And closing the gaps evaluates how well we're meeting targets for different student groups to ensure equity. And that is considered our federal accountability, and that is what is reported to the United States Department of Education. As noted here, the better of achievement or progress is moved forward and multiplied at 70%. The remaining 30 comes from Domain 3, which is the federal accountability. So I'm going to start with Domain 1. For our elementary and middle schools, Domain 1 simply is based 100% on STAR performance. This includes the percentage of students scoring at the approaches, meets, and master's level on all the STAR exams. For our high schools, it does differ a little bit. 40% comes from the STAR exams, 40% comes from the college, career, and military readiness, and 20% comes from graduation rates. For CCMR, it's taken from the graduating class from the year before because that data does lag a year. And for graduation, the state takes the better of the last 3 years of graduating cohorts for the formula. Now to Domain 2. School progress measures academic growth in reading and math, including expected growth and accelerated learning as outlined in House Bill 1416. It also includes relative performance, which compares a campus's STAR raw score to other campuses with similar economically disadvantaged students. And for high schools, it is 50% STAR and 50% CCMR. So those are the differences.
Larissa, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yes,
but a question on the previous slide. the comparison to relative to economically disadvantaged. Is there like a radius, like 50 miles, 100 miles, or is it statewide?
It's statewide, and there's ranges. There's a whole formula chart of all the different ranges of economically disadvantaged. And it's different for elementary, middle, and high school. Now, Domain 3, Closing the Gaps, which is the U.S. Department of Education, sets specific targets per subgroup of students. For elementary and middle school, there are 4 areas that are evaluated. The first one is academic achievement in reading and math at the meets level and above, not the approaches. So there are certain targets that our students have to meet. The second one, which is 50%, is our academic growth. So again, that is Domain 2, but we also see it in Domain 3, again, in reading and math. 10% is for EL proficiency, which is measured through the TELPAS test for emerging bilingual students, and that accounts for 10%. And then the remaining 10% is all STAR exams at the approaches, meets, and master's level.
Larissa, another question on the TELPAS. You showed us last year we made substantial progress in that area, and this year we took another huge jump relative to the state expectations. Are we aware of how neighboring districts did in that area now that?
I have not researched, but next month in September, when we have our EB and bilingual report, I'll make sure to add that.
Good, because you know, we've really made a lot of strides in the last couple of years. And I was talking to a trustee from another district, and and they were going like, well, you know, you're from a wealthier community. I said, relatively sure, that's true. So what do you know? I said, well, what I know is our TELPAS scores are really good. How about yours? You know, and they didn't know. So it would be good to see the kind of growth and achievement we have in a variety of categories.
I'll make sure to prepare that for you.
Thank you.
For our high schools, academic achievement in reading and math at the meets level and above. And then also for high schools, they look at the federal graduation rate. EL proficiency, again, our students are emerging bilingual students who are testing on the TELPAS and their progress, and 30% CCMR. So we see these indicators all throughout our state accountability system. For Domain 3, TEA evaluates 4 student groups per campus. The all-student group, the 2 lowest performing race and ethnic groups from the previous year, and the high focus group, which is all students who are in special education, emerging bilingual, or highly mobile. And these groups ensure that the district addresses equity and supports all learners. For BISD, this is how our breakdown leads to. We have 7 campuses where the 2 lowest race and ethnic groups from the prior year was Hispanic and white. 4 of our campuses, Hispanic and 2 or more races, and 2 of our campuses were African American and Hispanic. So how is all of this figured for the district calculation? So back in 2023, the state moved to a method of proportional weighting, which looks at all campus enrollment from grades 3 through 12 and applies to each domain. So for our district, and every district's a little bit different, as you can imagine, our 2 high schools with the largest enrollment will carry the majority of the weight for the district, so at 40%. Our 3 middle schools account for 30%, and our 8 middle elementary schools all combined account for 30%. Again, grades 3 through 12 are calculated. And so they divide the number of grades 3 through 12 students at each campus by the district total that equals the weight that each campus contributes to the district domain score. So as you can imagine, Champion High School contributes quite a bit as compared to our smaller elementaries. Wanted to share some great news when it comes to CCMR, College Career and Military Readiness. So here's the chart showing and illustrating our 5-year trend. Again, this data does lag a year, so that 95% is from the class of 24. Again, the state takes the best of the 4-year, 5-year, or 6-year rate when it comes to graduation. And for Bernie ISD at both campuses, it was the class of 22, which is at 99.4%. For our 25 accountability, that is our official graduation rate. So how does all that add up? So for Bernie ISD in 2024, We earned a Domain 1 score of a 92, a Domain 2 score of an 81. Again, the better of those two, which was the 92, is multiplied at 70%. Then you add the 90 that we earned for Domain 3 at 30%, and that totaled a 91.4. Which rounds to a 91. So for 2024, we earned a 91 as a district. We had 9 campuses that earned an A and 3 campuses that earned a B. For 2025, Bernie ISD in Domain 1 earned a 92 and an 80 in Domain 2. So of course, the 92 moves forward at 70%. Then you add the 91 at 30%, and it ended up being a 91.7, which rounds up to a 92. So for 2025, our final rating for the district is a 92. We had 8 campuses that earned an A and 5 campuses that earned a B. And I just want to share with you a comparison with the region and the state. BISD, again, is the only A district in the San Antonio area, but in Region 20, by far the largest. All the other districts had 1,700 students or less compared to Bernie ISD. And in the region, the CCMR percentage was 72% and their graduation was 90.2. For the state, we are one of 126 A districts across the state. You can see the CCMR percentage for the state is 82, graduation is 92.2, and this afternoon I just received a report that we are one of 31 districts across the state with 6 consecutive A's.
Can you remind us how many districts approximately there are in the state of Texas?
1,174, I believe, were in the formula.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
And we were the 6th largest on that list. I'd like to move on to distinctions, the next area, to recognize campuses that go above and beyond standard accountability measures, showing exemplary performance like academic achievement, growth, closing the gaps, and post-secondary readiness. They highlight excellence and continuous improvement. Each campus is placed into a unique comparison group of 40 other campuses that share the same kind of type, enrollment, and demographics. Distinctions available include academic achievement in the 4 core areas, the top 25% of academic growth, the top 25% in closing the gaps, and post-secondary readiness. For elementary, there's only 6 distinctions available since they do not take a social studies exam. For BISD, these distinctions highlight our commitment to excellence, equity, and continuous improvement. And I'm happy to share that in 24 district-wide, we earned 28 distinctions, and we had the breakdown there, 2 at the high schools, 4 at the middle schools, and 22 across all the elementaries. And in 25, we earned 27, 4 at the high schools, 2 at the middle schools, and 21 across all elementaries.
You know, if you go back, if I'm not mistaken, 3-4 years ago, I think we only had like 7 or 8 distinctions.
2019, we only had 9.
Yeah, so that's good progress.
Yes, sir. So what is our plan and our approach for 25-26? This year, we're focusing on the areas where we feel that we can make the greatest impact in the shortest amount of time. So there's 3 areas that we're going to be focusing on. Number 1 is accelerated instruction, provide targeting support for students who are not yet successful on the STAR exam. That should always be our focus in trying to minimize those learning gaps as early as possible. The next 2 are to sustain our students who are already at the master's level, but make sure that they sustain that year to year, and also those students who are at the MEETS level to make sure that they sustain those measures year to year. Our plan launched in July with all campus leadership teams. Together we set clear goals and priorities around these key student groups. To support the work, we created a tracking system within our existing platforms to monitor these students routinely and frequently, allowing us to adjust our strategies and provide timely support throughout the year. And that is all I have for you this evening. Are there any questions?
Congratulations. I know it takes hard work on every level, and thanks for leading that charge. I know it gets the standards get tougher and tougher to meet every year, so I know that we can probably predict that that's going to happen again this year in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I would like to thank some of the people behind you there, principals, and hopefully we get the opportunity to shake some hands and go face to face with some of these teachers that actually make the impact every single day to give us these fantastic numbers. Because we talk to other board members and it seems like we get praised and, oh yeah, Bernie is a beacon, and like I didn't do anything about that. It's the people behind you, it's the teachers in the classroom, and I hope that we're showing them the love and support that we're definitely seeing. So we love that. Also, I want to make sure Comfort gets a shout out because I believe they moved up 2 letter grades. And to give Mr. Rich Sinna some information, Alma Heights once again achieved a B. So just so you know.
But they've said they have their own accountability system because they don't like what the state does. So they have their own system.
They might have been in that lawsuit, but no, I really appreciate what we're doing. I know it's going to be extremely hard to maintain such a high level. And hopefully later tonight we can talk about some ways to keep that high level. And I think one of it's showing that we love our teachers.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. All right, Mr. Scott. We have business, consideration and approval of a resolution providing for the defeasance and calling for redemption certain currently outstanding district obligations in the approximate amount of $13,875,000, delegating to certain district officials and staff the authority to effect matters related thereto and other matters in connection therewith.
Good evening, everybody. That is a mouthful of a resolution. We still ringing?
Yes.
All right. Good deal. Mr. Clayton Benford is here with us this evening. He serves as lead counsel for Bernie ISD from McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton, who serves as our...
Hold on one second, Mr. Scott. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right. There we go. Now you get to hear the purity of my voice. Yes. Okay. Yes. They serve as our bond counsel and our election counsel, so he'll be up here for a little bit too, because every single one of these items apply to him as well, and he is very knowledgeable in the realms of bond law and election law, despite being a Texas Aggie. So there we go. All right. The resolution you have before you. Let's talk about defeasance resolution. Okay, one of our primary tenets in debt service management is creating budget capacity and flexibility as a fast growth school district. You have to maintain that. We try to do that by in 2018, the board chose to have an interest and sinking tax rate of 31.4 cents. And since 2018, the board has kept that in the low 30 range. For the last few years, we've been at 32.4 cents to ensure that we have capacity to pay principal and interest for new debt issued to service the assets of the district as we build new schools and pools and all kinds of fun stuff. That rate is one of the lowest in the San Antonio, Austin area for a fast growth school district. I'm not aware of current rates from last year, but it's certainly been the lowest year after year when I presented on this. All right. Here is a listing of our debt service by. We have 8 outstanding bond issues that we're paying principal and interest on. Here is the principal and interest that we'll pay using the tax levy for the 25-26 year. You'll see that the defeasance line down at the bottom. And what is defeasance? Defeasance is nothing earlier than paying off debt early, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But we've got, if you add up all of the of the 8 series that we owe principal and interest on, and what those add up to is about $24 million. The 31.4 tax rate, 34.1 cent tax rate that's going to be proposed tonight will yield the tax levy approximately around $35 million, and we'll get some state funding to fill in the gap there. But the gap between the what we'll get in total funding of somewhere around $38 million and the $24 million in principal and interest that are scheduled will fill in with early payment of debt, and that will help us as we approach new bond issues, and it will certainly help the taxpayers as we eliminate interest, which is what we've said a number of times, the least best use of taxpayer dollars. What we'll be attacking is most likely the 2016 bonds. If you'll notice on the 2016 and the 2017 line, and I turned the whole thing off. There's the button. Okay, we pay more interest than any other issue on those 2016 and 2017 bonds. Those bonds are going to be coming callable in 25, 26, and the 26, 27 years. That'll give us the first opportunity to really attack those, and that's where we're planning to attack those is paying off principal on that debt issue, particularly 2016s as soon as possible. Callable debt can be refunded or defeased, or as we said before, paid early. We'll have 2 bond issues that will be callable in the 25-26 year, and that'll be the 2014 refunding and the 2016 building bonds. And we're going to pursue the 2016 bonds more than likely. We'll make that decision as we approach November. Will be the decision making for a December transaction, and the almost $14 million we saw outlined in defeasance will save the taxpayers about $7 million in interest. And at this time, I'll certainly entertain any questions or comments regarding the defeasance resolution.
Yeah, just a comment. You mentioned we could allocate it either to the 2014 series or 2016, but just for the public to know, our balance, our principal balance on the 14 series is not very much.
It's not very much.
And our interest payments, our interest rates are extremely low. So if you're going to defease or pay off early some debt, it makes sense to do it on a series that has a much higher interest rate.
Yes.
Not that the 16 series is a high interest rate, it doesn't. It's just, it's definitely higher than 14. So our savings of interest payments will be much, much greater by using that 13.8 million to defease the 16 and then the 17 next year, whatever the strategy is for a year from now.
As 2 years ago and 3 years ago, we paid some significant attention to the 2014 bonds. They had what you call a couple of capital appreciation maturities, or also called zero interest bonds, that had a much higher rate, and we eliminated those 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So what's left is just doesn't have much interest left to it.
And for the audience also to know, the 2013 series, which doesn't exist anymore, that's now, I believe, the 2020 series, that was refunded at a much, much lower interest rate that saved us $33 million of interest over the lifetime of the bond, the 30-year bond, which knocked out close to 40% of the original expected interest, was wiped out by refinancing at a lower rate. And I'm sure those people that bought those bonds are bumming out that they bought them because it's a low interest rate, you know, but hey, it's good for our taxpayer.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Scott, can you go back to the chart that shows? Okay. We're good.
All right. I guess it should be noted while we're on this screen is that every dollar of the defeasance goes towards principal.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question or comment?
You know, the other thing I would say is most of our debt comes from 2016 bond that built 3 schools, and the 2022 bond that built, that expanded several schools and built Viola Wilson. And of course, you know, the 13 bond that rebuilt Fabra and expanded south and north. So most of our debt is less than 10 years old. And to have, like a mortgage, when you've had a mortgage for only 5, 6, 7 years, 2/3 of your payment doesn't go to principal reduction. Right. But that's the case with our debt management. So I think you've done a good job in preparing us for the future to minimize, to your point, interest payments on school debt doesn't do you any good. It at least gives you a little bit of a benefit when you're filing your income taxes, but that doesn't apply to us. So anything we can do to minimize our interest payments and maximize the defeasance of our principal is a good thing.
I would move to approve the district's defeasance resolution.
We have a motion by Garrett Wilson,
Second.
second by Carlin Fryer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
All right.
Up next, we have public hearing for proposed tax rate.
Yes, we do.
It is now 7:58 p.m. At this time, we'll open the public hearing and take comments from the audience. Does anyone have any comments regarding the proposed tax rate? Yes, come on down, sir. Thank you, Mr. Lamping.
Thank you. First of all, congratulations on your A rating. Very good. Appreciate that and continued success. Also, earlier Richard was supposed to present a check to the Bernie Education Foundation from the retired teachers. So we want to show our support for the retired teachers, and we met with Nicole afterwards. So we'll have that for our Bernie Education Foundation. As I mentioned earlier, retired teachers, we support raises for our teachers, and we know we're getting some from the state, but we also want to make sure that our teachers, our current teachers, are supported adequately. We can keep them here. As I understand, we lost over 100 new teachers, or lost 100 teachers to other districts. So it's important that we keep our teachers in our school district. I retired from Northeast, and I wasn't a teacher, but I was in maintenance. And in the 90s and the early 2000s, they spent billions of dollars on new schools and refurbishing old schools, replacing portables and upgrading their facilities. And just last Monday, the board approved going out for a bond proposal for $495 million for deferred maintenance. So that shows you that they also have concern about their facilities as they continue, even though they are losing students and they are closing 3 schools. They still want to come out with a bond proposal of almost $500 million for deferred maintenance. So I just want to say, I know we want to give raises to our teachers, but we also need to have some funding for capital. I've been on bond committees, and there's always projects that we cut. There's always projects that don't make the bond, but they are important. Lighting, drainage, painting. We need to keep our facilities in top shape like they have been. So appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamping. Anybody else have a question or comment? All right, it is 8:02 p.m. and we can close our public hearing. Go ahead, Mr. Scott. You have slides.
So we'll tell you a little bit about the tax rate. Now that we've had a public hearing on it, our purpose here is to hold a public hearing on the tax rate required by Texas state law. To get there, we're going to talk a little bit about the budget development process. We're going to talk about a local funding opportunity that made itself evident as we developed the budget, which led us to the tax rate that's under consideration today. Here is a timeline of the budget development. The budget development never stops. It starts, it lasts all year long, and before we're done, we're budgeting for the next year. But this does outline a number of important things that were done starting in January when we take the demographic report and we look at what kinds of students and how many students are going to be coming into the district in the following year, and how we need to staff for those students. This timeline outlines 5 public budget workshops that were held to discuss budget priorities with the board and public. It details a number of meetings and hours that administration poured in to discuss budget priorities and hash out which ones we're going to put forward. It doesn't outline the 5 months of meetings that we had with the Budget and Strategy Advisory Committee, which is a public committee convened with over 40 members of the community to come in and discuss potential budget efficiencies and potential funding opportunities. But it has brought us to where we are today. The end result of all this is our bold vision and purposeful path, which outlines 3 priorities in compensation, in being sure that we fund our program and enrollment growth, and that we address our capital replacement that we haven't been able to do in quite a while out of the general fund itself. But this mostly focuses on compensation. This provides some of the details of that, including increasing starting teacher pay to $60,000 so that we can help retain quality teachers. Here is a graph of our budget priorities. It does outline, all of the things outlined in the previous previous slide were additions to what we would call the base budget. Our additions to the budget are outlined in budget priorities that we had identified just a moment ago. Wanted to emphasize that most of those additions to the budget are in compensation. Over 80% is dedicated to compensation, another 16% to enrollment growth, and 3% to the capital replacement. Before I move on a second farther, when we got to the identifying this plan, we could see when we looked at current law in effect in the spring, prior to any of the results of the state legislative session, that this would be a bill of $10 million more than we had in our revenue estimates under current law at the time. So when you have a gap in your funding, the first thing you do is look at if you're being efficient in your spending. As mentioned previously, we had met a number of times with the Budget Strategy Advisory Committee. We took those recommendations. Administration evaluated those and vetted those and put those forward to the board, and these are the results that cut a number of positions at central office through attrition and hit a number of department budgets. It achieved over $1.4 million in budget savings, but did protect our highest priority, protecting the classroom.
Wes, if I could
Yes, sir.
interject, you mentioned the 10 million that when we look at our strategic budget, that the amount of revenue available to us through current state funding formulas was about 10 million light.
Yes.
I think it's important for people to know that since 2019, the last time there were revisions to funding formulas in the state of Texas, our growth in our general fund is about $10 million less than what it would have been if it had factored in inflation and enrollment growth.
Yes, sir.
Now, the state of Texas budgets itself on population growth combined with inflation. Well, if that metric were used for us, we'd have $10 million more, but we didn't, because they hadn't updated. Despite 23% cumulative inflation, there have been no changes in funding formulas. So thank God this year House Bill 2 passed, but it didn't eliminate that $10 million gap. It produced, well, I know you'll show us 3.8 million. So a far cry from what we feel we need to properly fund our schools.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So once we took a look at how we were spending our money, we took a look at funding, additional funding that would come through state legislation, which would came in the form of House Bill 2, which was the most significant legislation for school finance since 2019, and House Bill 3, as Mr. Senna just alluded to. It did bring significant funding to public education in Texas to the tune of $8.5 billion. But when you and with the kind of the centerpiece of that being teacher pay, the example being $5,000 in pay for a teacher that has 5 years of experience. That's definitely a raise that teachers probably have not seen in their professional lifetime, and we're grateful for that legislation. But when you design school finance for over 1,000 school districts in the state of Texas, you try to make it work for as many districts as possible. Some really benefit, some benefit right in the middle, and there's some that don't benefit as well. Unfortunately, Bernie ISD was one of 9 school districts in the state of Texas that had some detrimental impact. If you look at this last line to the bottom, I'm going to turn it off every single time. If you look at this last line on the bottom, the hold harmless for compression laws, the district lost $2.4 million in estimated funding from a vehicle that was put into place in 2023 when the state had significant compression in the tax rate to provide taxpayer relief. Once again, it impacted some districts in a way that they did not intend. Bernie was one of those, and so they put that hold harmless in place for us. And then in House Bill 2, they sunset that provision, and we got unintended consequences again, and that left us with $3.8 million, as Mr. Senna mentioned earlier. Almost $3.5 million of that is dedicated to pay a certain group of employees specifically, which is great, but it does leave half of our employees and the remainder of our budget, $400,000 out of that increase to address all of our needs. So we cut $1.4 million out of the budget, and we got $3.8 million in funding from this additional funding from the state, and so we still needed just a little bit under $5 million to meet our $10 million goal, and so that requires looking at local funding opportunities. I'd like to point you to this graph that has almost every school district in the San Antonio and Hill Country area. And one of the things that I do want to point out is a number of districts that are very similar to Bernie ISD, like Alamo Heights or Dripping Springs, Lake Travis, New Braunfels, that all have a much higher level of funding or spending per student. You see Bernie, am I going to press the right button this time? There we go. Way down there at the bottom. All of those districts I mentioned are either red or blue, which means they have taken advantage of golden and copper pennies to increase their funding. In fact, 70% of the districts on this listing have taken advantage of that opportunity. And let's talk about what a golden and copper penny is. So the board has several pennies that they can add to the tax rate. I'm going to talk about the composition of the tax rate in a few slides farther down. But excuse me. The district has 3 copper pennies, golden pennies available to it. Excuse me. Golden pennies are called golden because they are immune to recapture. You pay no recapture on these, regardless of your overall status as a recapture district. You may pay recapture out of your Tier 1 funding. The district hasn't paid recapture funding out of our Tier 1 funding since 2023, and we're not scheduled we're not forecast to pay recapture anytime in the near future. But regardless, golden pennies are not subject to recapture, and in fact, you get additional state funding added to them. And so if you just think about the penny in terms of $1 of tax collection for every dollar that the district collects on a golden penny, you get an additional 60 cents of state funding, so we get 60 cents on the dollar. 3 golden pennies, which are the gold pennies that are available to us, would generate $4.8 million in funding for the district. We also have available 9 copper pennies to us. Copper pennies are called copper for several reasons. One is they are automatically subject to recapture. So regardless of your recapture status as a Tier 1 district, if you have copper pennies, you will pay recapture on those. You also lose state funding when you adopt copper pennies. And so copper pennies are not a good answer for the district. You get, for every dollar that we would collect in tax collections on a copper penny, we would get to keep about 38 cents for spending on the district. And so we want to emphasize at this point in time that copper pennies are not under consideration. They do not adequately benefit the students or taxpayers of Bernie ISD, and Bernie ISD is not interested in any option that requires us to pay recapture, takes money out of our community. What I want to say additionally about the golden pennies is I love Garrett Wilson's description of the golden pennies as anti-recapture because it takes back some of what has been taken from us over the years, which is a wonderful way to describe it, and that these pennies, once adopted, carry forward. They will be in place for time immemorial or until the state legislature changes its mind. So, yes, sir.
Mr. Scott, if you can go back a couple, because you brought up a great point. Since I've been on the board and sitting with other board members from different places, seeing the amount of people that are willing to go to the copper pennies, I was really kind of taken back. I thought that, there might be 1 or 2 districts in the state, and to know that there's districts around us that have made that choice, and that we're either in or they're definitely in recapture now, but they were in that threshold anyways. And to take, basically, I think taking that from your taxpayer, I was kind of flabbergasted that people would go to that. But that shows the extent of the funding problems that those districts have had. And it's really a travesty. I think it's sad that they had to make that decision to their taxpayer. And I know for me, I'm like, I would never want to put that on a taxpayer to pay, 35 cents for every, dollar that I take from them. I think that's a horrible way to fund the school.
It's certainly not a good answer for Bernie ISD. Now, copper pennies are going to be calculated by district, so it may be a better answer for some districts that get 70 or 80 cents on the dollar, 90 cents on the dollar, depending on their property wealth, which determines that. It's still not a great answer. You also have a lot of school districts that are dealing with very significant budget deficits at this point in time, and just like you're saying, it's not a very good position to be pushed into to take that option to try to eliminate those deficits.
But to Dallas's point, there are a few districts on here like Dripping Springs, Lake Travis, Comal that are recapture. They're property wealthy districts, and they're not generating 70 or 80 cents on the dollar. So they made a decision to go forth. But I agree with you, asking taxpayers to pay X amount more to yield 38 cents on the dollar, no way. Whereas the golden penny, it's like 2/3 more. You pay $1, you get $1.70 back, or even more. So there are a few districts on this list that are going to take action this fall. But I think our district has the best story of any of them, because we have less funding per pupil.
Yeah, to go to your point, I mean, I've had a lot of conversations, and I think if you went and made this graph next year, it would be a lot more blue than we're seeing now. Yeah, just the funding issues among the state have just been immense. We are not been the only one to adopt a negative budget, and thank you for all your hard work, and Dr. Kraft for the sacrifices being made to make a balanced budget, because I think everyone out here we all pinch pennies and we all look at the bottom line very intently, and I appreciate all your hard work to get us there.
But, you know, to back that up, there were also strategic decisions made during COVID when the federal government threw out billions of dollars nationwide for public schools to counter the effect of COVID. The way Bernie ISD spent its money was on remediation, getting kids to catch up, which is why our STAR scores are equal or better than they were before COVID. A lot of districts, including some of the districts on this screen, used it for recurring expenses, they were warned not to do that. They were warned, do not spend this money on everyday expenditures, because when the money runs out, you're going to have a deficit, and they went right ahead and did it. And, you know, I have a hard time feeling sorry for them because they were warned. But we used our money wisely, and we had a fraction of the revenue per pupil that a lot of these districts have because of our demographics. So there's always choices you got to make in budgets.
All right. The result of considering the 3 golden pennies resulted in a adopted budget of $116.5 million. That is a balanced budget that was adopted by the board in the June board meeting after a public hearing very similar to this one. All right. And now let's talk about the proposed tax rate. The tax rate is driven by property values. This is a little graph or a little table of the values this year and last year. And the two things that I want to point out here, if I can hit the button right again this time, it's 2 times in a row, is that the overall appraised or market value of the district went up from a little over 20 billion to a little over 21 billion. That's a 5% increase. But that the taxable values on the third line there only went up 1%. That is a result of the increase in the homestead exemptions that were mentioned in the resolution that y'all talked about a little bit earlier. All right, here's a 10-year picture of property tax values in Bernie ISD. Note the significant increase in market values starting in 2021 going through 2023. Everybody remember that time. But then look at the light blue, which represents the taxable values, and that it's a much more steady increase, and that steady increase was kept there by the property tax legislation that was passed in 2023 and in 2025. And then one thing I want to say about overall property values is that we started out in 2016 with about $7 billion in taxable values, and then we ended 10 years later at about $13 billion. The reason I want to point that out is the new property values. Every year, you know, Bernie ISD is a fast growth district. That's because we're in a developing community. There are new properties added to the tax rolls every year. Over the last 10 years, we've added $3.5 billion. So of that $6 billion increase we've seen over the last year, $3.5 billion of that came from new properties. So even though there has been tremendous increases in market value, it's not all borne by existing taxpayers. There's a lot of new properties to help share that burden. Here's a picture of our tax rate over the last 8 years. We use 2018 as the standard for presentation, because that was the last year before tax compression. The tax rate was very steady prior to that year, and 2019 was when House Bill 3 was passed and compression started occurring. And you'll notice that through 2024 the tax rate was compressed 36 cents, and then you'll see the proposed tax rate that we have there in 2025, which is 2 cents higher. Here is the proposed tax rate. We'll talk about the maintenance and operations rate, which funds the general fund. The maintenance operation the maintenance and operations tax rate, or the M&O rate, pays for teacher salaries and utilities and interest, anything that comprises the daily operations of the district. The maintenance and operations rate has two components. It has the maximum compressed rate. That's the rate that's given to us by the Texas Education Agency. And it has the Tier 2 golden pennies. And so the maximum compressed rate, you'll see, did not change from the prior year because our taxable values were just 1% higher. That was below the comptroller's estimate, so there was no compression in the tax rate. The Tier 2 pennies, you'll see, the 3 pennies that we talked about previously are encapsulated in this year's Tier 2 golden pennies. Excuse me. I'm going to create a whole new level of funding, Tier 3. Every district in the state of Texas has 5 golden pennies. The board can adopt those, but to get to the next 3, we'll have to have what's called a voter-approved tax ratification election. Notice the other tax rate that composes the total tax rate of the district is the interest and sinking rate. We talked about that when we talked about the defeasance resolution. The interest and sinking rate is to pay principal and interest on voter-approved bond debt. And you'll note that the board is committed to reducing the INS rate by 1 penny on a successful voter-approved tax ratification election. That makes the tax rate 2 cents higher than it was last year. Okay, let's talk about how this impacts the average taxpayer in Bernie ISD. Here's a picture of the average taxable value of a home in Bernie ISD over the last 8 years, and you'll see very similar to the overall property values in the district, that dramatic rise in market values from 2021 to 2023, and then leveling out for the last couple of years, but that the market value is once again held down by, not the market value, the taxable value is held down by the homestead cap that doesn't allow an increase of over 10% in any one year, and the homestead exemptions increases that have come into play.
You know, Wes,
Yes, sir.
If my numbers are accurate, it looks like the average taxable value of the average home in Bernie ISD went up about 60% in the last 7 years, but inflation's only 28% in those 7 years. So that shows you the challenge of home affordability in America.
Yes.
I mean, it's an issue. And thank God for the tax compression, because if the tax rate hadn't have come down, people would be paying a lot more in property taxes. And that would also hurt the affordability issue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's talk about the impact of all that. We've talked about property value increases and tax rate decreases and home exemption increases. What's been the result? And the result, you'll see over the last, you got an 8-year history. So over the last 7 years, the average Bernie ISD taxpayer has experienced a 1.5% increase in their tax bill.
Versus 28% inflation.
Yes, sir. All right. This is one of the more formal parts of the when we have a public hearing, is the notice of approval tax rate. Note that this is just a formula for calculation that's provided by the Texas State Comptroller that says that if we adopt a tax rate higher than $1 and is that 1/9/1000th of a cent, that we have to have a voter-approved tax ratification election. Our tax rate that we're proposing is higher than that tax rate, and that will prompt that election. So, but this is a table picture of how it's going to impact the average Bernie ISD taxpayer. So we'll notice a couple of things here. Even though the taxable value, or even though the tax rate is going up 2 cents, the average taxable value is going down, once again, as a result of all of these increases in homestead exemptions that we talked about a couple of times here. and the average impact to the average Bernie ISD taxpayer will be a small decrease in the tax bill.
So based on this slide, the 2025 tax year, average taxable value, 488,000. Without the increase in the homestead exemption of 40,000, that would have been 528. So that brings it down to 488, which is lower than last year. So it more than offsets the small increase in the tax rate.
Yes, sir.
$80 reduction. But it's most impressive for those 65 and over. If I'm not mistaken, about 30% of the homesteads in our school district are 65 and over or disabled.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The columns in orange show that. There's a couple of things to notice here. One is that tremendous decrease in the taxable value due to that $90,000 increase in the exemptions that we were talking about before. And note that the tax rate does not impact somebody that's over 65 or disabled. That tax rate is frozen. It can go down, but it cannot go up. So the savings for somebody over 65 or disabled is pretty substantial.
I think that's why Jerry Lamping and Richard Herbst were applauding when we passed the resolution before to support and endorse the state propositions to increase the homestead exemption.
Yes, sir.
They were delighted. They're going to get that $700 reduction in their taxes.
Yes.
I have two things. One, the compression, I think, has been fantastic. I think what legislation has done has been the right steps, but I also want to make sure people understand, I don't think they're done. I don't think that this is something that it's going to be something that's going to be continually visited. And I think as a board, we're going to continue to send Rich out there as our advocate to go talk to them for hours on end until they beat him in submission and we get, a better tax rate compression. The other question for you, and this is me thinking up here, and that's never a good thing, is am I to understand if we did 2 golden pennies, we wouldn't need a vote?
No, sir. No, sir. How that works is it takes your maximum compressed rate that you get from TEA. It takes your golden pennies from last year, and then it takes your INS rate, and that's what comprises the rate that you see up there. So if we increased 1 golden penny, we'd have a voter-approved tax ratification election.
And I don't.
Am I saying that right, Clayton?
And I'm not saying that that's the intention, but I also want to say that we want to be as transparent as possible with the public of what we're doing, and how we're going to be good stewards of any finances that we're.
The history of golden pennies was until 2019 House Bill 3. I believe there were 4 golden pennies allowed. The legislature passed House Bill 3, which allowed you to go to 8. The 5th one, by a vote of the board, a year later, you would get, and we did that a year later to grab that 5th penny, because our overall rate was going down a bunch that year. But the final 3 pennies, you've got to get voter approval. So, and that's by law.
And then we're out of golden pennies, but this carries on year to year until they decide to change something, which hopefully they won't.
Yes, ma'am. All right. This marks the end of the public hearing, unless you have any other comments or questions.
I was just running the numbers here. On the 3 golden pennies, we've got a yield total of 4.8 million. I'm doing the math right. 2.85 million of that comes from local property tax revenue.
Yes, sir.
And then 1.95 million comes from guaranteed yield by the state.
Yes, sir.
So that's 68.4. For every dollar that we raise in local property tax revenue, that's 68.4 cents that the state matches on each dollar. That's a pretty good rate of return.
It is.
What's the stock market average? 8, 9, 10% a year? If I can invest $100 in and get a guaranteed $168 back 12 months from now, I'd probably do it.
I think that's why you referred to it as reverse Robin Hood. I think that's your phrasing. Yeah, good job.
Robin Hood in reverse. Yep.
Anybody else have a question, comment? Good time for the increase in the homestead exemptions. It's on our side for sure.
Well, just one thought, and I'm glad to see the slide on there, Wes, where you showed, even though the rate's gonna go up, the average homeowner is gonna see a drop in their taxes, because I was reading my Bernie Star this weekend, and I cut out these tax notices, and the city's not gonna change its tax rate, but because home values went up, they don't get the homestead exemption. Schools do, they don't. The average homeowner in the city of Bernie is gonna pay $107 more in city taxes. And the county, Kendall County, even though their tax rate's going down a half penny, the average homeowner is gonna pay $148 more in county taxes. So they need that $80 reduction, or in the case of the senior citizen, almost 700 to offset what's going on elsewhere.
Questions, comments? Okay, next I'll entertain a motion for the property tax increase.
This is the end of the public hearing. Are we moving on to adoption of the tax rate resolution?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. Okay. We have, for the audience's reading pleasure, the resolutions that you'll be signing today. We have the maintenance and operations resolution that outlines the maintenance and operations rate of 0.6969 for every $100 of assessed property value, taxable property value. And we have the INS resolution at 31.4 cents, and that does outline that INS rate will remain in effect on the successful passage of a voter-approved tax ratification election.
So, Mr. Scott, I want to talk about this one for a minute if I can. So
Yes, sir.
This is where you've mentioned it already. We're taking advantage of the 3 golden pennies.
Yes, sir.
As long as the tax ratification election passes, then we're decreasing the interest in sinking by a penny.
Yes, sir.
If it doesn't, then that is not a guaranteed decrease.
It is not.
The interest in sinking would stay. We call that a toggle. Is that what we're calling that, Mr. Bickford?
Yes, sir.
Probably might be good to really kind of emphasize how that wording works.
Yes, sir. What that'll do is lower the INS rate by 1 penny, which will be a little bit less than $1 million less in collections that we would have had. We talked earlier about the importance of capacity, and that's what allows us to do that. Is that we can certainly make our required payments. We can certainly still attack debt early. And maintain what we need to do on the INS level for a fast growth district.
So where we looked earlier at the defeasance resolution of a $13 million defeasement, roughly, if this were to go through in the future, or had it gone through last year, we would have only been able to defease $12 million instead.
Other way.
Because we'd be decreasing the tax rates. What we have coming in would be less to defease.
That defeasance resolution is calculated on the 31.4 cent rate.
Okay, gotcha.
So it would have been about $1 million higher.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, please.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of $1, 1 cent, and, well, let me just say $1.0109, which is effectively a 2.02% increase in the tax rate.
I have a motion by Garrett Wilson.
I'd like to second that, but I do have a little bit of conversation before we vote.
Sure.
If I can ask just a little bit more clarification. So the language that we're required to put says that this is effectively a 2.02% increase in the tax rate, and it is in the rate, but the emphasis, taxpayers, it's actually a decrease in the amount that they're writing their.
You'll see that all over the place, right, where it says this is a tax rate increase, right?
That's statutory.
State law requires that. Yes, sir.
So even though they're going to write a check for less, we have love Austin.
Good point.
I second.
Second by Carlin Fryer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
All right. These resolutions, by the way, will be posted. We've always posted these resolutions. These are available on our website. All right. That brings us to a moment that's been a while coming. Here is a big, long resolution related to a voter-approved tax ratification election that's required by the passage of this tax rate. That will be on November 4th. And I don't have a whole lot more to say.
I know that when we were foreseeing this problem, a couple of years back, even probably further than that, we took many measures to try to talk about different solutions. And Dr. Kraft put together a BSAC committee, a budget strategy advocacy committee, and they spent many hours, looking at ways where we could be safe, help our teachers, our staff, be equal to pay to surrounding districts. And the tax ratification election was one of their three main suggestions for our community to consider.
Yeah, and I think the focus on efficiencies and economies, and one thing I appreciate the administration doing is anytime there's a turnover in a position, evaluating that position, can it be merged in or consolidated with other positions? And the $1.4 million is a significant amount. I mean, I've talked to trustees in other districts that are going out for vaders and they haven't cut anything. And I don't really understand that. So I'm glad that we did that, because the protection has to be the classroom. You got to put the emphasis where it counts the most, and that's the classroom. Now, we've worked hard over the years with the legislature looking for increases in the basic allotment. We got a significant increase in 2019, but it's been flat since then. We've advocated for a lot of things, but the reality is when you're $10 million under the combined rate of enrollment growth and inflation, you can't do the things you want to do. And people will say, well, why don't you pay your teachers what Northside pays? Well, when you got $1,500 more per kid to spend, you can do that. Well, we don't have that. So I think we've exhausted a lot of our efforts. And we've been, we have, I think, one of the lowest, if not the lowest tax rate of any school district in the area. So, our community supports our schools. And I think we have to educate and explain what's involved and what's included so that people have a good understanding of what the objective is here. And the objective is real simple. It's recruiting and retaining talent. It's taking care of capital expenditures, ongoing maintenance, and student programs. We added the P-TECH Academy at Bernie High School this year. That was huge. For 160 kids in each grade are going to graduate with an associate's degree, saving them and their families, thousands of dollars. Okay? That costs to offer that to your students. We have the same thing with cyber at Champion High School. And people say, well, why do you shuttle back and forth? Well, instead of having programs at both, you got to be efficient, and that's what you do. So I think one of the themes of BSAC, Christy, that came across was we do a lot with less. And we do a lot with less than the average district. And, we're the only medium to large district with an A in San Antonio. What's that tell you? And there are other good school districts. Alamo Heights is a good school district. Comal's a good school district, but they don't achieve what we achieve, either with graduation rate or with the accountability ratings. So
To kind of piggyback on that, I think the BSAC is a great example of what makes us different, though. And thank you, Dr. Kraft and leadership, for whenever we hear recommendations from the public, we take it to heart and we act on it. And I've been really, really proud sitting on here whenever you hear a good idea that makes sense and it checks out, you act on it. And I think that's put us in a really, really great position. And this is just one more step in doing that.
Yeah, I concur. You think back kind of to the beginning of the year where this started. You know, we have budget workshops beginning in January every single month. The board questioning, talking about what our priorities are, administration listening to that, coming back with revised budgets, you know, that take into account what the board's priorities are. It's not a knee-jerk reaction, right? It's something that we've been building towards. And when you look, I agree with Rich on the efficiency. We're doing things in central office to make sure that we're not just having to raise income, we're cutting the expenses. So from a business standpoint, we've done that. I know we're undergoing an efficiency audit that's part of this that'll be coming out. The first thing we did tonight in commendations was recognize our principals for achieving 6 years in a row an ATEA accountability rating. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens by intentionality. And I think the administration is intentional in identifying students, closing gaps, making sure that we're monitoring student progress and improvement. And I think the board has tasked the administration with doing that, and they've risen to soaring levels in accomplishing that. So I think we owe it to our teachers and our staff and campuses to make sure that we're supporting them for that recruiting and retention. You know, I've often said, you know, one of the very first meetings I attended 11 years ago when I was elected trustee, Donna Sharp said every decision that the board makes should have two things. It should, number one, have a positive impact to our students, and it should be respectful of the taxpayer dollar. And I think that this, the resolution for the increase in the tax rate, even though it's a decrease in the tax payment, is an attestation of just that. It's making sure that we've done everything we can to make sure we're taking care of the students' performance, but we're also being very respectful of the taxpayer dollar. So I'm fully supportive of this and commend the administration for the work you put in to get us to this point.
I agree. I think it's been a long time coming, and I know that, you know, our teachers earn it. I think it's long overdue for our teachers to be able to say you know, the steps we can put into place on our pay scale because of this are gonna move mountains. I think it's gonna be very beneficial, and it's gonna be an opportunity for our community to come together to support our staff.
To Christy, to touch on you, I mean, I think we talk a lot about teacher pay, and that's phenomenal. And as you were saying, the first people we thanked and congratulated was principals. In the first budget we ever looked at to try to get to as close as we could as a balanced budget, you know, we have to do steps and pay, and the people who took that hit were the principals. And I think if we can get back in line to getting them the compensation that they deserve, I mean, I feel really bad when you give an award to someone and you know that basically they're sacrificing to be in that position and to earn you that A. I think it's the respect that they deserve.
Well said. But I'll throw in our hourly workers, because some of our hourly workers started $14.45 an hour. Now, we did the raise of $1.25 earlier this year, which really has turned out to be just a very good move, both from recruiting and retention. But also, looks like we balanced the budget, which was very good. But, you know, I was asking a Kendall County commissioner, what's your lowest paid hourly worker? What do they start at? And I don't know what position it is, but it's more than the $16 that we're trying to get our teacher aides to start out at. And these are folks, whether it's with life skills or special ed, they don't have easy jobs, but it also makes the job of the teacher easier by having a staff. And we had, I don't know how many openings for TAs at the end of the year, and it's way, way down. I don't know that we're fully staffed there. I think we're still a little bit too unbelievable. We went from 20 at the end of the year to 2. Once again, Jill, great job. You, Nadine, the whole staff. So, you know, you just got to take care of people, because it's not cheap to live in this town. It's expensive, and it's got a lot more expensive since I moved here. Carlin, you grew up here. I mean, it's like, we need to do this for our people.
Even that increase that we did last school year for our hourly workers, that made the difference of them getting to stay in Bernie ISD or having to go to another district. So we definitely want to try to get closer and closer to our teachers being able to afford to live here if they choose.
Yeah, from a cost of living standpoint, like you say, this is not a cheap town to live in. And if you were to adjust all of the funding for all the districts in the state to a cost of living analysis, I bet we're not just the lowest in the state, but way lower. I mean, I don't have the math, but it's got to be way down there at the very bottom. So you run the risk of, if you don't have the funding, of basically having all your teachers driving in and none of them even living in the district. And that's not good for our small town culture here, and, you know, kind of the culture that we want for the school district.
Yeah, talking about the cost of living, I mean, I think Judson's about the same size as us as far as enrollment numbers. I think they're about 1,500 kids less than us, but they got more funding from the state than we did. And I'm like, man, out of, you know, cost of living and stuff that's going on, I'm like, man, it just looks different. And I think Bernie, we need this. But yeah, getting to your point, cost of living, that $3 million or whatever, it didn't go very far when you're looking at, you know, the Bernie prices.
Yeah, your medium home value's $500,000 or whatever. What is it in Judson? You know, probably less.
Well, I'm as a new board member, I'm just very elated to be a part of all this. This is a historic opportunity for us to engage our partnership with our community and our district to invest in the success of our students by meeting the needs of our teachers. So I'm just excited that we have this opportunity and that our community can invest in what we all believe in.
You know, and one thing I would add about teachers, I mean, House Bill 2 did provide for a nice raise for those teachers with 3 and 4 years and also 5 years or more, but every district got that. So we didn't cut into the deficit. And I'm grateful that what the legislature passed was a bill that did that, because the original form of House Bill 2 would have added the money, instead of to teacher pay, which was one of our priorities, it would have added it to the basic allotment. So the districts that had more money would have gotten even more, and our teachers would have gotten a whopping $1,200 raise. And we fought back on that. We testified about that in Austin and fought back, and we're very, very grateful that they passed the teacher retention allotment. But, you know, we're not done. We're not done, because you don't go into teaching to be rich, because that's not going to happen. The only one that ever thought they went into teaching and they were rich was my daughter, who started off as a newspaper reporter making $24,000 a year. So when she became a teacher, she almost doubled her income. She said, "I'm rich." No, you're not rich. You're better off than you were. But, you know, it's an honorable profession, and it should be respected such.
Amen. It's a thankless profession.
All
Any
right.
other comments? Okay, I believe we have a motion.
So this is a reminder that you have to take the vote by board member on this resolution. Is there anything else that needs to be said at this point?
Okay. Anybody care to make our motion to adopt?
I move that the board adopt an order calling a tax ratification election to be held on November 4th, 2025.
Okay, motion by Garrett. Harlan Fryer, second. Rich Senna. Courtney Bruce. Aye. Christy Schmidt.
Dallas Pipes, aye.
Sarah Falconberry, aye.
Carlin Fryer, aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Oh, Mr. Scott, one more?
I need my microphone. Sorry about that. The last resolution for the board is to support the tax rate in the election order. I don't have, that's a significantly long resolution, so we're not going to put it up on screen. But it does outline everything that the board and administration and community members of the public have gone through, walking through everything that we did to develop the budget, everything that we considered with House Bill 2, the gaps that we had to fill, and how we can fill that with the adoption of the Golden Tenets. And with that, I'll turn it over to the board.
This election is a 50+1% for approval, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And it will backtrack, if it passes, we'll go back to the start of pay to adjust.
So what we did when we adopted the budget was we adopted language that let us effectively accrue a level of pay for employees that started from July forward, from whenever their respective contracts started. So for a teacher their contract start on September 1, they're earning the level of pay that was outlined in the bold and purposeful plan that you saw earlier. For September and October and November, they'll be paid at a lower rate, but they'll be earning a higher rate. So upon successful passage of a voter-approved tax ratification election, the December check will contain everything that they've earned through those months, and then their January check will be what they would call their regular paycheck going forward. If the election is not successful, then they would still get paid at the same level that they were being paid in September and October and November.
Thank you.
It'd be interesting to see what a starting teacher pay would look like in December with that. I mean, I'm just curious of what that difference would look like. So
The difference in what, Mr. Pye?
that pay, that difference, what that check would look like, or how that compensation would, the gap that they would be receiving in December.
We can put something, an average one together for you and get it to you.
Any other questions or comments? I move that the resolution to support the adopted tax rate and voter-approved tax rate election be approved as presented. Rich Senna for the second. One by one again, Mr. Scott.
I don't believe this resolution requires that, ma'am.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have future business items. Our next meeting is September 15th. We will discuss EB bilingual reports, annual investment policy review, resolution for investment officers, and investment broker and dealer resolutions. And with that, I will take it's 8.
Second.
First, second, we adjourn at 8:55. Thank you all.